so that the direction of the picture is in the script. Everything is in the script.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 22nd Script Award Los Angeles. I am pretty happy to be back, and thank you, Chloe, for filling up for me for the last, I think, 2 sessions we had. It's a pleasure to come back and to discuss script. It's something very current for me. I'm writing a new script, so it's going to be a pleasure to get in touch with fellow writers. We have PT Pete first. Okay, I'm going to start with you. You won the best pitch deck. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Then we have Grace. Grace, you won the best student script. Bravo.
Thank you.
And we have John. You wrote nothing less than best writer for this edition. So congrats and welcome to this roundtable. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Doing great. Yeah, happy to be here.
Grace, we're going to start with Grace and then John and then back to PT. Tell me a little bit where you are, because this is digital, so you could be anywhere in the world. It looks like it's daytime for most of you. So where you are and a little bit about you, your background as a writer. Grace?
All right. I am in Massachusetts currently, about an hour west of Boston. I'm sitting in my dorm room right now. My background as a writer, I have been writing for as long as I can remember. I remember always growing up loving reading and writing. My mother is an English professor, so it was very common in our home. Yeah, I mean, I remember I really was into creative writing as a child. I wrote like 60 pages of an adventure story in like 4th grade. Yeah, it was just something, I don't know, it's always kind of been in me. I've always loved writing so much. So.
I feel that. Same for me. I've been writing crazy stuff since I was a very little kid. Mm-hmm. John, what about you?
Yeah, I am in Charlotte, North Carolina, probably more south in the suburb area, but yeah, same with me. I think when I was a kid is when I started like forming stories, and in class when there was like assignments to write creative stories, I would have probably more fun than any other kids in the class. And then the teacher would always be sure to like pull me aside and be like, "This is something you're actually really good at. You should keep going." But I think for a really long time I was like kind of embarrassed to be open about writing and about just that area. I didn't really let anybody read my stuff. It just felt so personal. But yeah, it was something I would put down and pick up through the years. But it's only in my 20s that I picked it back up, and now I'm 30, and I actually, found the courage to start letting people read it. And
it looks like it's working pretty well for you. That's cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
PT, you don't have a script, you have a pitch deck, but still, we're going to go back to that. Where are you, and a little bit about your background?
I am currently in Los Angeles, California. I'm from Haiti, but I was raised in Florida. Background in writing, I didn't really consider myself a writer, but I think I was always on punishment, and my punishment was not to be able to watch television. So I would always listen to what was happening on the TV, but I would have these images and ideas of what's happening. But when I finally was able to, go back and watch TV, it would never be the exact thing that was in my head. So I wrote a lot of
practice your imagination, just listening to the TV.
Yeah. Words became very important for me. So I would go back and write poems and write rap lyrics, and that was like the beginning of like trying to create an image or create an idea, and that led into like writing stories. So yeah.
That's cool. You have very different backgrounds and styles, so that's going to be very interesting. Could you pitch me your story? What is your script about? John, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. My script is about kind of like a stoic, introverted guy in his early 30s that receives some really bad news about his marriage and decides to retreat to his childhood, the ranch that his family used to go to that's in the middle of nowhere. And he stays there by himself with his dog for a couple weeks. And then I think he thinks the solitude is starting to get to him because he starts hearing whispers in the
Voices.
trees. And like the trees are taunting him, saying stuff that sounds familiar to him from his childhood. And that's where the story kind of does this two-step of whether he's going through something psychological or whether he's actually experiencing something supernatural.
Okay, yeah. How many pages?
30. Yeah,
30.
it's a short one. Yeah.
Grace, what is your script about? What's the story?
So my script, The Last Carrot, it follows the story of this woman, Miss Harper, who lives alone in the woods and has absolutely like no contact with pretty much anyone except the milkman. And she's content with that life, baking, gardening, just having that one friend. And during the events of the script, she finds out it's her only friend's birthday and she wants to bake him a carrot cake using fresh carrots from her garden. And this plan is it's foiled very quickly when she can't, for the life of her, pull out this one carrot from the ground, and it sends her into this kind of frenzy of abandoning her routine and dedicating all of her time and resources to this carrot.
Okay, that sounds funny and interesting. Very cool. PT, I guess you're gonna be more used to pitch it because you created a pitch deck. So you already made the whole brain process to sum up the project and to make it into small kind of headlines.
Yeah.
Did you deliver that to us?
All right. Well, Chevy and Caprice is basically about these two African American girls who kind of meet each other at like their worst, the worst time of their lives. And it takes a quick turn when one of them gets kidnapped. And the whole story is essentially the idealism of a strong Black woman. I wanted to take that stereotype and make it into a supernatural sci-fi element. So these two girls who kind of are at the end of their rope and find each other, find their friendship, they end up getting kidnapped and come to find out that they're this society of Black women that live in these shadows that are like magical and supernatural. And they've been essentially running the world for however many centuries. And now they're being recruited into this house where it's also like a divided house where some of them want to come out of the shadows and showcase their abilities to the world and kind of not be in the minority limelight as they are now. And some of them want to stay in the shadows. So it's kind of like a divided house. And now these two girls come into it and they kind of have to pick sides.
So it's kind of it is a superhero story.
Yeah.
But with a twist.
But like social
the powers they have
mm-hmm.
also come from the whole history of Black people. Am I right?
Of the connotation of a strong Black woman, usually like a single mother that's raising kids is kind of like considered a strong Black woman, or a woman that's a Black woman that's gone through a lot of hardships. They have this, it's a stereotype for the most part, but I'm trying to use that to create this element of this not that it's untrue because they are strong, but this supernatural element that existed throughout time, and we as men and as other ethnicities just never knew of it, or if they've been living in the shadows for so long and now they're coming out, or they're making that decision if they should or shouldn't come out.
Did you write the script or only
the pitch deck? It is written as well. It's 24 pages. Okay. Yeah.
Your pitch deck won the best pitch deck, and it is a pretty good one. It's a very good one. I mean, when you just read that without reading the script, you get it. You get it, and you want to read it, and you want to watch it.
Thank you.
How do you go from a script or an idea to an effective and efficient pitch deck that gonna make people want to work with you?
I think the elements of it is creating a world, creating your characters, and separating each thing so you kind of know what's what. So I dedicate each page to something that's new information, whether it's me telling you the pitch of the story, whether it's me telling you what the world looks like, or whether me telling you what the characters look like, or what the characters' characteristics are. And I also sprinkle whatever, if there's a line that I really like that a character says, I'll put it by their, by their picture,
Yeah.
by their name or something like
Quote.
that. Yeah, a quote. And just really try to bring the world together, essentially really put what I'm trying to say into the piece, as far as, unsolved dilemmas or core wounds or whatever I'm trying to get across to individuals as.
And you made it very visual, because when you imagine superpowers and all of that, I mean, all our imaginations today are dictated. The way we see superheroes is going to be very kind of narrow now, because we've received so many superhero movies. So you have to find your own identity visually, and I think that pitch deck is doing that. So all the performers that we see in the pitch deck, are they people you want to work with?
They are my friends that currently are actors in Los Angeles. Yeah, and I did a little a trailer for the pilot that I wrote. So a lot of these images come from the actual trailer of the pilot. So I shot some of it, and then I used a lot of the still frames to create the aesthetics, because that's what the image would look like, the trailer wise. So yeah.
Okay, very cool. Grace, your turn. Tell me, I read on your bio that you are a student in film production.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that entail? What do they teach you about film production?
Well, it's mainly a lot of, in the film production classes I'm taking specifically, it's kind of just giving us the resources and allowing us to do what we want with those and make these little films with our friends with the resources that we're given. This script that I wrote, The Last Carrot, was written for a class, actually, for my screenwriting class. And so with that, I get to pretty much do whatever I want with it. And with that, I was really proud of the script once I finished it. And I was like, maybe I should submit this to a couple of places. So it's mainly just they give us the resources, but also allow us to really go out on our own. And
are they giving you the resources to produce the film?
Not necessarily not produce, no. This was written for a screenwriting class. I didn't necessarily write it with the intention of it ever being produced, but I really fell in love with the characters and the world when I was writing it. So I would love to produce it.
Because of the film production perspective, and because we are in the real world, and when you write a script, did you write your script in a way that if it had to be done, it would be easy to do it? Did you make it? No?
I didn't write it with that intention.
It was really an exercise.
Where am I in what?
It was an exercise.
Yes, it was an assignment for the class. But as I said, I was really proud of it, and I really did fall in love with the characters and the world. And it became something that I want to work on more. Every time I revisit it, I'm like, wow, I want to keep working on this. I want to make it real and all of that. So
how many pages?
My first draft was 14 pages. It's currently at 9.
Okay, it's a good balance for a short film. It's interesting. John, your turn. So it's a psychological thriller, Men Like Trees, and it sounds like it plays with the codes of the genres. The way you described it, it sounded like a ghost movie. But the way I read it before, it felt to me more like a horror-inspired fantasy script. Where do you place your work in that realm?
Yeah, it's hard. When I was writing it, I wrote it with the intention of it being a psychological thriller, but I think I was also inspired by movies like Take Shelter, which is another one that played with it up until the very end, and then kind of switched the genre. So yeah, I think at its core, it's still uh, um, like a piece on masculinity and trauma and isolation, uh, and the dangers of thinking you can do things on your own, and sort of making that a lifestyle. Um, but you know, I write all of my scripts as if I'm watching it like on a screen and what I want to see on the screen. Um, and so I wanted it to feel at the same time like fun. I wanted it to I wanted the readers or the audience to feel like, yeah, it's all in his head. 1 second, and then say, oh,
And the
but why is
second after that, you
yeah,
doubt it.
why
You say, is this real?
yeah,
Where's
because
the line?
his dog is seeing it too. So it's like, yeah, that speaking of dog.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that when you started writing, it felt very personal, and you, at some point, it clicked, and you started to want to share the scripts and get some people to read them. What created that? What sparkled the click? What was the moment that made you say, "Okay, I'm ready, and I want to open what I'm writing to some other people"?
Yeah. I think, and I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, but I think throughout the years, I just read some scripts or saw some movies that I was like, how was this even made? Um,
Yes.
and not necessarily that, you know, it didn't deserve to be here. Everyone has different tastes, but I was like, why am I doubting myself when this, you know,
That's
is
the way you
made?
want to
Yeah,
look at it. You want to look. You don't want to judge and say, "Oh, this is so bad."
yeah,
You just want to say, "Okay, if they have a space they are able to use and do that, I think I can do at least as good as that. So I should go for it."
yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I felt. Is oh, okay. I think, and I actually think in some cases I was like, I would have done that differently, and I think it could have been better if it was this way. But yeah, again, it's just my individual perspective. But yeah, that gave me the courage. And then I had submitted to a contest. It was a pitch, and then they over like I think 1,000 um, submissions. They narrowed it down to
Mhm.
20, and I was one of the finalists. And that gave me like all the confidence that I needed to.
A little bit of outside validation
Mhm.
to say, "Hey, keep going."
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. PD, what was for you? Um, was there a moment when you started to open up about your project, and did it happen the same way for you, or were you always outgoing with what you were writing?
With the writing in general.
Hmm.
Okay. I when I got to college, I didn't know what I wanted to major in, and I decided I just like cameras, so I majored in broadcast journalism. But I didn't like writing. I didn't like the news story format of writing. Um,
Okay.
it was just boring for me, and I know it's great for others, but for me, it's just it didn't entertain me enough. So I had a mentor who allowed me to kind of like work on his projects and edit and help so I can learn how to edit using Adobe Premiere.
Yeah.
And then I just decided, hey, I kind of want to learn to write actual scripts. So really it was a moment of like I want to volunteer at like the film schools. I wasn't in film school. I was at broadcast journalism. I want to volunteer at the film schools and just linger around enough that I started to try to learn to write my own scripts. And then after that, I decided to go to film school, and that's when I learned script writing structure and everything else. So yeah,
It's good to start with editing, because when you learn editing, basically you learn how to write.
yeah,
You learn the sequence of events. So that helps usually a lot. Grace, was there for you a moment that you decided to share your writing with the world, or did you keep it for you for a long time? How did it work for you?
After I finished this script, I kind of had a moment where I looked at it and I was like, okay, I can either keep this to myself forever, I guess, because I wrote it for a class, or I can, I don't know, put it out there, see if anything happens. And I was really proud of the script. I thought, okay, maybe I could just see if it'll go anywhere. And I decided to submit to a couple competitions. And the first festival I heard back from gave me an honorable mention. And then I just kept hearing back. And eventually I got to win my category for the Script Awards LA, which was great. So that kind of finishing this script in and of itself kind of gave me the confidence to go forward and actually share it.
It's very interesting because I feel like the three of you, you're using the festivals and the competition to really climb the steps from just me and my computer to, okay, let's try it out, and then, oh, I've got a response, and then, oh, I've got a good response, and then go the next step and the next step and the next step. So I like hearing about that. What do you think is going to be the next major change or action or initiative that you want to take with that script or your projects in general? Who wants to go with that?
Yeah. I think, well, with the projects in general, I saw a tweet of a writer that said it's good to write as many different projects as you can. If it's hard to write a feature or something that's very high concept, you can just write different short stories or short and kind of build a portfolio that you can show someone if they're like, is there anything else I can read? So that's what I've been doing. There's 2 more short films that I wrote, and then there's a big one, a feature that has been like killing my brain because I can't wrap my head around. It's just funny how some stories are just kind of fall on your lap, and then others you feel like you have to drag it, scene by scene, and kind of figure out what happens next. So I really want to get that feature done and submit it to a lot of contests.
Okay, Grace, what about you? What's going to be the next big step you would like to make regarding this project or your career?
Well, regarding this project, I would love to produce and make it into a short film. I am in my last year of college right now, so I think it might be a minute before that happens. I'm still trying to get where I need to go after this. In terms of like the long run or future projects, I have so many ideas swirling around my brain that I'm trying to get onto the computer, get onto paper. So just seeing like you said, which scripts kind of fall into my lap that I can get into or out into the world eventually, I think is where I'm at right now, and also trying to figure out just what's next for me after this step right now.
Okay. Petey, what about you?
With Chevy and Caprice, that project is in a format of pitching right now. So that's something like I'll continue to pitch and see where what sticks and what implements I can do to make it more appealing for anybody that wants to pick it up. But currently I have 2 projects and I'm back and forth, so I gotta really differentiate the 2. But I have one that I'm writing that is another television show concept, and then I have a sci-fi sports feature that I kind of like stopped writing last year. That's kind of like still brewing in my head that I need to finish. So the process basically is continue to write, and then the times that you can pitch or have people that will go in the room with you to help you pitch, to have multiple ideas that you can pitch at them. So,
okay. Do you have any questions you would like to ask to each other? about your writing process, about specific ideas, about these scripts? Let's say I'm not here and you want to talk just between you guys. What would you want to know from your fellow writers?
I have
I
go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, well, to both of you guys, Grace and John, do you have any writers that have influenced you? And is there any films that the writing stuck out so much to you that made you want to become a writer?
Good question.
Yeah. I recently watched a movie called Past Lives,
Mhm.
and that the writing with that movie blew me away. It felt so like alive,
Mhm.
and organic and human. So that's the most recent writing I can think of. And then film or writers that I like Francis Lawrence. He's a
Yeah.
director too. He's a phenomenal director. Greta Gerwig. I know she's mainstream right now, but she everything she touches is just so well done. Yeah.
What she does, it's very specific in a way and very mainstream at the main time. It's and people don't usually you realize when there's bad writing,
Yeah.
when oh my god, this is so not, this is dragging, or the dialogue, or this. Usually when you get a good film and you don't think about the writing, it's because it's just flowing.
Mhm.
Grace, do you want to answer?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about. I recently read the Moonlight script, which was just the most beautiful piece of writing I've ever read. And I don't know, I forget the screenwriter's name, but it's just the amount of care and love that he put into that script was something that really stuck with me.
Yeah. John, you had a question.
Yeah, I forgot because I was answering the question. I think I would ask what the writing process is for both of you, because I think before someone sits down and starts typing, they kind of have a clear vision, or some people do it blindly, like scene by scene by scene. But I guess what has helped you do it more efficiently? Because that's what I'm needing right now with this feature that feels so hard.
For me, my first screenplay that I wrote took me 4 years to write it, and that was going scene by scene by scene, and it was that difficult. But I find reading a lot of books. Like I've read Story by Robert McKee. Uh, what was it? The cat book? I keep forgetting the Sid Field's Foundation of a Screenplay. But the structure now for me is very like I work on one piece at a time, and that's basically going from the type of story I'm trying to tell before I even touch anything. I know my ending. I also know beginning, middle, and end. I know how many acts are going to be in, if it's a 3-act structure, if it's a 4-act structure. And then I break down all my elements, and then I go and write one line for each like action that happens in the film. And then I go and get index cards and I write a full scene of each thing that happens in the film, beginning, middle, and end. So it's almost like paperwork, to the point where when I start from page 1 on the actual final draft, that I have a wall filled with scenes, character descriptions, one-liners that I want. And then after I finish writing all my scenes, I go back and redo dialogues for each character. So it's a process, but it takes way less than 4 years to do it with that structure than to,
because you give yourself a lot of discipline to structure the writing and to lay it all out before you actually go to final draft. That's impressive. I could not do that.
It's the bones. It's creating the bones of the skeleton before you actually fill it with all the organs and the heartbeat and everything else that's going to make the piece emotional or whatever that you're going for, so.
That's great, because you keep it controlled. You keep control of your story. You're not gonna just follow inspiration and just swipe swerve off the main story, just gonna keep within the road that you designed previously. That's impressive. Grace, what's your approach?
I try to get as much planning done as I possibly can before I even open my screenwriting software. I will completely hash out the characters, just write down every detail I can think of, whether or not it might be relevant to the story. I write down every single question that I myself have for the story, and then I try to chip away at those and answer it. I try to do like outlines as well, because they're so helpful. I avoided them for so long, but they really make life so much easier. And I am often listening to music when I write. I don't know, something about the creative music going in my brain helps the other creative juices get flowing. And I sometimes make different playlists for different like pieces
Yes.
or writings that I'm working on. So it's very dependent on the project, but I find that the more I plan and the more I get it out of my head before I actually start writing, that's what makes it a lot more fun for me. So
About music, this is one of the topics we usually talk about in these roundtable. Do you listen to music when you write? I don't think I've ever heard someone that I remember of that said no to that question.
Mhm.
So, PD, John, what type of music do you listen to when you write?
I also do a different playlist on Spotify for every different project, right at the beginning when I'm trying to figure it out. There are some like uh, lyrical or artist songs, but the majority of them are scores, film
Of
scores.
course, yeah,
Like
background music. Yeah,
yeah, the ambience, the kind of tone that I'm trying to go for, and it helps me get those scenes coming.
PD.
Yeah, very similar. I do listen to scores. I don't make a playlist, which is a great idea, so I'm gonna steal that from you guys. But I also do like very simple stuff like rain sounds or atmosphere sounds, just to not get necessarily like a musical score in my head, but get a feeling and a tone or whatever that I'm trying to go for.
Rainy days,
Rainy
this kind of
days,
stuff.
thunderstorms, or it could just be wind tunnels or windmill wind tunnels or something like that. Kind of like because I don't really like words, but I listen to a lot of music when I'm not writing, just because that motivates my everyday life. I like get up in the morning and I'm jamming the music. Before I go to sleep, I try to wind down with some cooler music, like, but still words in it. But when I'm writing, I don't like to hear anything other than like just, just like I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so you are not disturbed by the words, but
Yeah.
you have that
The
that
elements still in you.
that
Yeah.
element around you in your ears if you have a headset or a headphone. Yeah, same here. I totally relate. We're reaching the end. Thank you so much for being here. Congrats on your work. What I'm gonna do, when you look on the right side of your StreamYard thing, you have something called private chat. Okay, so I'm gonna leave a message here, so you can see it. So you should have a red dot showing now. I'm gonna leave that chat open if you want to exchange contacts, if you have questions you want to ask to each other privately. Everything that's on the chat is not going to go on the video. Okay, so it's really a moment for you if you want to just exchange, ask a few questions, ask for somebody else's email. That's what it's made for. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me to get back to the Script Awards and to have you guys as my guests. And basically, I have a feeling that you're going to keep going to film festivals, to film competitions, because you understood what you could get from it. The reassurance, the feedback, the encouragement, the accolades, all of that. Sometimes it's not much, but sometimes it's just what you need. So you want to go back to the blank page. So I think you get that. And congrats again. Go on the chat if you want, and see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for
Thank you.
having us.
So that the direction of the picture is in the script. Everything is in the script.